Hey friends, welcome to the channel. Today in this video we're going to solve one of the problem sets of week 6 of CS50. So in this video we're going to solve this CAS problem. We can solve either one of these. For this number 5 requirement we'll solve CAS. It's simple, but it has some important lessons that we will need to understand for Python. Okay, so basically it's again the same program that we did in previous problem sets, but using Python. So the user should run the program by saying python cas.py, and the user should be prompted for change. The user enters a floating point value. It can be 0 point something, or it can also be like 1 point something or 5 point something, and then we just have to print how many coins we need to disperse. The options that we have for the coins is 0.25 as in a quarter, and 0.10 which is a dime, and then 0.05 which is nickel, and 0.01 which is a penny, right? So pretty simple program, not a lot. See, we may have a value greater than 1, so there's that. Okay, so what we will do is we'll open up Visual Studio Code by clicking here. All right, the very first thing that we will do is we will navigate to week 6, the directory that we created in the previous videos. If you have not created the directory, make sure to do that. So we'll say cd week 6 ls. Okay, these are the two folders that we have right now. So what we are going to do in the beginning is, as you can see, in a file called blah cas.py, basically in a folder called sentimental-cas. So we'll say mkdir and we'll paste the copied name, so it will create a folder, and then we'll say cd into that folder which is sentimental-cas, and then we'll say code cas.py, because again that is what we are directed to do, and we'll press enter. Okay, so inside this folder, inside sentimental-cas, we have this cas.py file. Wonderful. So this is where we are going to program. If you see the requirements, what you will see is we are supposed to use a get float function from CS50 library. So to import a function, what we have to do is this. We'll say from CS50 import get float. We could do it manually also, but if they are asking us to use this function, we'll do it. Okay, so the very first thing that we have to do is we have to get a floating point value as change, right? And also we want to make sure that the value that the user enters is greater than 0, right? If the user fails to provide a non-negative value, your program should reprompt the user, right? So what that means is we'll need to somehow be able to check the value that the user is entering, and if the value is less than 0, we'll keep repeating less than or equals to 0. So what I'll say is I'll say change equals 0, right? I'll initiate a variable called change with the value of 0, and I'll say while the value of change is less than or equals to 0, what I want to do is I want to keep asking the user for the value of change, which I'll get by using get float change, right? So basically this requirement is fulfilled. We have the value of change, right? And now what we want to do is we also want to declare another variable called coins equals 0, and later on we'll just keep increasing the value of coins, the number of coins, and at the end of the program, once we are done with everything, we will just print the coin, right? So that is print coin. Okay, so before we print coin, what we want to do is we basically want to do this while the value of change is greater than or equals to 0.25. Then what we want to do is we want to say change equals change minus 0.25, and then coin plus equals 1, right? So the way this is going to work is basically while the value of change is greater than or equals to 0.25, so it doesn't matter if the value is, I don't know, 0.41 or 1.60. What we will do is we'll keep subtracting 0.25 from change until the value goes below this, right? And once it goes below this, we will do it again. We'll say while change is greater than equals to 0.10, and again the same thing. We want to say change, and then again coins plus equals 1, right? And this way we are basically going to like figure out how many coins we need, right, to disperse. However, this will not work. This will throw an error. I'll show you why. So let's say print 0.41 minus, let's say, I don't know, 0.10, or to make it more clear, let's just say change minus this. I'll run it again. I'll say 0.41. See, what we are doing is we are just subtracting 0.10 from 0.41, but we are getting this weird value. Why is that? That is because of like Python is not super smart in this term. Like it has a lot of powerful capabilities, a lot of things it can do, a lot of powerful libraries, but in some things, for example this, Python is not very smart, and that is basically to do because of the memory problems in a way, right? An easy way to solve this is we'll put it into a bracket and we'll say round, right? But again, if we do this 0.41, it will give us 0 because it is rounding the entire thing. But if we pass in 10, it will consider 10 other values, right? Like 10 of the decimal values, and then it will give us the right answer, the answer that we are expecting. So if we subtract 0.10 from 0.41, we get 0.31. That makes more sense, right? Okay, wonderful. So let's go back to our previous version. What we know now is we need to do some rounding, right? So basically we want to say round, and then inside this we want to paste this, right? And again here too. But what you see now is, you may have noticed already, we are basically going to repeat this thing, right? Again and again, again and again. And that is not a good practice in programming, right? Whenever we are building some program, we try to avoid code repetition, right? And in order to avoid that, what we do is we introduce something called functions, right? In Python, to declare a function, what we do is we say def, and let's give the function a name. I don't know, reducer, for example. What value will it take? Let's just call it value to reduce, for example. And then we give a colon here, and inside this function we will basically take this entire thing. I'll just cut it from there and I will paste it here. I'll make sure the indentation is correct. Since it's Python, the indentation, the spaces is super important, right? So okay, this is done. And now what we want to change is this. We want to copy this, and instead of this we want to pass this, so that we can call this function again and again, and it will basically reduce whatever value we pass into the function when we are calling it, right? Okay, we are calling it coins here. So before we print the coins, what we want to do is we want to call our function reducer, and we want to pass the value of 0.25, right? So initially it will check while the value of change from here, or basically from here, line 7, that the user provides, while the value of change is greater than the value to reduce, which is 0.25, it will keep repeating it, right? And it will keep incrementing the value of coins. Okay, wonderful. Again, and here I want to pass in 0.10 because that is another coin value. Here 0.05 because 0.5, if we were to say 0.5, that basically means 0.50, and that would be incorrect, right? So we'll say 0.5, and here 0.01. Wonderful. 0.05, 0.01, but this will still throw an error, you'll see. So let's say that we wanted to execute this program. We pass in 0.41, for example. What is it saying? Cannot access local variable change, blah 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 blah. So basically what this means is this particular function, when we are calling it, does not have a variable called change or a variable called coins, right? We did declare it here, which is universal, but functions in Python don't get past the variables that are declared globally, right? So what that means is we will need a way to pass this global variable into this function. How do we do that? It's not that difficult. We very literally say take the global variable of change. That's it. It will access the global variable. Similarly, take the global variable coins, and that will solve the problem, I hope. 0.41. It says just 1. Why is that? Let's see. The mistake that we made is here. When we are doing this rounding thing, what we want to do is, as we discussed earlier, we want to pass in this, right? So if we run it again, 0.41, this will give us 4. That seems correct, right? Similarly, if we were to pass in 1.60, let's see what we get. 1.60, right? Yep. Press enter. 7, which matches. Now let's check whether or not our program is correct according to the specifications. I'll copy this entire thing, correctness. I'll come here, I'll paste it here and press enter or not. All right, there we go. Everything is correct. Wonderful. So we'll style everything, but as you know, I like to click on style 50 up top right corner, apply changes. Everything is styled properly. Wonderful. And then I'll copy the code to submit, and I'll come here, I'll create this screen again, paste it, press enter, and again it will ask us whether or not we are sure to submit the program by keeping in mind the course's academic honesty policy, and we are sure to submit it. Press enter. Why yes, press enter, and our score is here. So we'll open it by command clicking or control clicking, and then we will wait for our result to show up. And as you can see, check 50 gave us 10 upon 10 for our logic, and style 50 gave us 1.0, which is the full point for our styling. So that is how you solve the CAS problem of week 6 of CS50. Click on the playlist that is currently being displayed on the screen for other problem sets. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.